Hey everyone, it's Michael Kikle. I hope you're doing well today, and I have a review here for Berserk Volume 5 by Kentaro Miura, doing the writing and the art once again. Now, many of you know, I've been reading these physically, typically, even though my videos don't really matter to show that one way or another. I wanted to make it very clear, I had heard in recent, maybe in the last year or so, about an app called Libby. I'd also heard of one called Hoopla, and I tried both, because I knew that my local library supposedly had all, if not most of, Berserk on digital only. I talked to the librarians a while back about it, and I thought, it would make more sense to try to read it that way. It's not like something that I'm addicted to. Well, I guess it is, but it's not like Dragon Ball Super or Die Dark, where I know I will go to my grave rereading those over and over and over again. Berserk, I've only read 4 volumes of. I've been shocked. I've been in awe. I'm not even a fantasy guy, but I'm really loving the dark fantasy feel of this series, the tone of it, the storytelling of it, even the few characters I've gotten to meet and stick with in these first 4 volumes, now 5, soon to be 6 now that I'm like halfway through that one. I'm really loving all of that. I'm loving everything about it, so I thought, okay, these books are like $15 a piece when you buy them, and like everything from Volume 5 all the way up to like the last couple that came out, like, what is it, 50 and 51 in the volume series, and the series isn't even done yet. The majority of those middle books you can't even find anywhere at local stores that I go to, like Barnes & Noble. We have a couple of those here, so I can't even find them there, so I have to just kind of order off Amazon, and then it takes forever to get here. So I find it kind of obnoxious, whereas I wanted to try this Libby and Hoopla app. Hoopla completely sucks. I can already tell it's not very good. But I decided to try the Libby app, and no joke, Libby is like fantastic. It's all you got to do for it. These are not subscription services. You just need a library card. And if you have a local library card, it doesn't mean everything that you'll be able to find will be in there. Maybe the most popular things. It seems like there's a lot of manga and comics on it from what I can tell. But I didn't spend a whole lot of time messing with that, just so you know. Anyway, getting back to Berserk Volume 5, I read it digitally, and frankly, it was even better than reading it in physical, even though I'd rather own something. But I like supporting the library, so I'm cool with this. Getting to the volume itself. Number one, this was a lot more lighthearted, even though it was still filled to the brim with war and battle scenes and whatnot. Kind of the drama with Guts meeting up with these new kids, the Hawks or whatever they're called. I'm not good with names at all, just so you know. Every time I read a new manga series, I have a hard time getting along with memorizing locations and whatever, the names of places, all of that. Many of you know that. So, Guts is basically trying to bond with these new teammates. He actually makes a few friends that kind of force themselves as nice people to make him a happier person, to make him realize they want to support him and care about him. And of course, this group of younger people are also led by Griffith, the guy we know will eventually be a villain in the future. We're still in this flashback thing, which is kind of wild to me. Apparently, this whole flashback thing about Guts growing up is going to be around for a long, long time in the story, which I'm cool with, because, dude, I'm so invested in this that, like, I'm totally down for that. Like, I'm down with another 10 volumes of just flashbacks. It may be more, I don't know. But I'm really into it. I'm really loving what I got to see here. I don't think I've ever read a book or a series or watched a show or anything that did this many flashbacks to someone growing up. But it's great, it really is. This one has notably a lot less gore and blood and violence in it. Most of it is Guts and character development with the other people around him and who he's bonding with. I love it. I really do. And I think the relationship between he and Griffith is really fascinating. Now, Griffith, I'm not sure, like a lot of people, whether he is like actually gay for Guts. It seemed like he was in Volume 4 when they first really met, but I can't really tell for sure. He may just be a total weirdo and serious like that, Like, he seems like he has some ability, from what I read here and in Volume 6, that I don't want to spoil for anybody who hasn't read it, but there seems to be some kind of supernatural element with him. I can't really tell. But I'm so interested to see what else we find out about Griffith and whatever. I heard that he is like one of the most evil, monstrous characters ever in literary fiction, And I'm excited about that. I'm curious to see what he does exactly for so many people to say that. So it's going to be kind of cool. Anyway, there were some other characters too, like one particular leader who is above Guts. I think her name is Casca. I could be wrong. But she seems to pop up in every other panel, paying attention to Guts from far away. At one point, we do a time skip, like 3 years, I think, something like that. It may take place further on than that, like up to 5 years. I don't know. But a lot of it is showing the rise of Guts in the ranks and becoming Griffith's kind of right-hand man, sort of, kind of. Not really, but sort of. Not getting like an actual position, but sort of, kind of in Volume 6. Anyway, I really find that stuff fascinating. And let me tell you, again, I'm not a fantasy guy, but seeing these things in a fantasy world, it is so much better in comics than it is to me like reading a novel or whatever. I love fantasy movies when they're good, but there's not many that I actually like. I'm not even like a Lord of the Rings guy, at least not at this current moment. Maybe I will be in the future, I don't know. But I'm not really invested in fantasy stuff, like magic and whatever. This is really turning me around to that. This really makes me want to be more open-minded to comics and manga, I guess might as well be the same thing, that are fantasy-centric. I think it's pretty neat. But yeah, there wasn't that much gore and blood in here. I was kind of surprised by that, but I also thought it was cool. Well, I guess cool is the wrong word here. There was a particular scene, a couple of scenes, matter of fact, one involving Griffith, one involving a monster later on named Nosferatu Zod, which how interesting is that I'm reading this like a week out from Christmas when the new Nosferatu movie comes out? How cool is that? I'm convinced that this book was censored, and I don't think it was on Libby. I think apparently it was from just any version, physical, digital, any of them. Obviously in Japanese culture, they had to censor when this came out, dicks. Which is weird to me, because I know, like, Baby Goku in Dragon Ball, they had a dick all the time showing up on him. All the time. Now, it could just be a sexual situation with these books. It could just be a sexual situation in anything. But I could have sworn I've seen dick in Berserk before. I guess I hadn't. I knew there were naked women and stuff. I know that there's the whole censorship about penises and genitals in general that are not boobs in Japanese culture. I know there's that whole joke about that. But I'm not really sure if that's what happened or not, because there is a full-framed shower scene of Griffith talking to Berserk, talking to Guts out in the field after he kind of takes a shower by pouring a fucking, a bucket over his head a couple of times. But there is a full conversation of Griffith being naked, and at one point he turns around in a very, like, almost like in a statue pose, standing there telling Guts what he's going to do with his future, his kingdom, whatever. And he should have a dick. He doesn't. He looks like a fucking Ken doll. He looks like everything Barbie's ever been disappointed in. And it kind of surprised the shit out of me when I saw it. Because immediately I had heard things about Griffith being like an alien in the anime adaptations and then the show adaptation, whatever. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't think it's true in the manga from what I heard. But immediately I was like, what the fuck? And I thought it was censored, because if you look at like his leg, there's a certain area that's like curved out that like looks to me like it used to be a dick that got censored. That's what it looks like to me. The same thing happens later on with that villain I mentioned, Nosferatu Zod, before he transforms. Which, by the way, the lead into the Nosferatu Zod thing in the middle of that battle was phenomenal. They can't get inside of a castle. There's one guy holding off most of Guts and Griffith's army. And Guts eventually makes his way in there, finds out it's not really a person, it's a beast. A big old monstrous monster, for lack of a better term, named Nosferatu Zod. But before he transforms into this more demonic phase-looking thing with these huge horns and stuff, when he starts out, I'm convinced he was supposed to be naked. Same thing in the way that Griffith was in that photo I talked about a moment ago, where there's a certain weird type of shading on his leg that looks like it should have been a big old schlong there. So I don't know. It was a very, very weird thing to see in both of these respects of Griffith and this Nosferatu Zod character. But it kind of took me out of the book, just a little bit. It didn't ruin the experience, but it was a little like, you're okay with, and this is a joke about any type of censorship in general, in any culture for that matter, you're okay with people getting hit in the head with, maces or anything like that. You can show their head basically collapsing, blood squirting everywhere like you accidentally stepped on your toothpaste bottle. You can show eyeballs popping out of people's heads because they got hit too hard. You can show all that. You can show people getting chopped up, losing their arms, losing their nuts. You can show all of those things. But you can't show a dick. God forbid that you show a massive schlong on one of the villains, or both of the villains in this case. Very, very weird. Very weird, and it definitely kind of was like, what the fuck for me while I was reading this. But overall, though, the book was fantastic. That Nosferatu Zod stuff really, really impressed me. I loved that. The art is good as always. Great book, man. Berserk, it just keeps getting better and better. Volume 5 was no different about that. And it was a good read if you haven't read it before. If you haven't read this series before and you're for some reason listening to this review, check it out, man. Really, really good so far. But I am about halfway through Volume 6. I may finish that before I go to work, but I won't have a review up for probably tomorrow or the next day. I don't know. Been kind of busy. I'm trying to get some Christmas present wrapping done too. So anyway, Berserk Volume 5, great read. Definitely check it out. What was your favorite part about this? What do you think about the strange censorship stuff? Let me know all that down below too. Am I crazy? Have you read a physical copy, maybe not even in English, maybe in Japanese, that didn't show like censorship there for the dicks? I don't know. I'm very curious what you guys have to say about that. I did a little bit of research. I couldn't really get an answer about anything, so I don't know. I would just like to hear what you all have to say about it. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later. Merry Christmas, and goodbye.